In this tutorial, we're going to look at the service module, which is a part of a larger app called Electrical Calc. It's available for iOS and Android, but today we're looking at the Android version. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into the Jobs module and choose a job or add a new job. What this does is it allows all our calculations to be saved under Jobs. So we want to make sure that the service calculation we're doing is saved under the proper job. So let's go ahead and go into the Job module. And we'll keep Google selected, but you can see in here you can select with the arrow on the left. You can delete jobs with the trash can beside it, and you can add new jobs with the plus button. But we're going to go ahead and keep Google selected, and we're going to back out of here. Now when we go into the service module, the meter base here, or the meter, you'll see that the selected job shows in the title bar. This is the same for all our modules. When you go in, you'll be able to see what job you're working on. And under this job, you'll be able to do any number of service calculations that you wish. And to go and look at your service calculation list, you either select the icon here of the meter or the top heading service. Go ahead and click on that, and that brings us into our service list. So same thing, we can hit the plus button and we can have any number of service calculations underneath the Google job, and we can name them. So we'll name this one main service, and we'll select it. And now you'll see we're under the Google job, and it's our main service is selected, as you can see here. Now this service calculator is for residential single dwelling services only, so be aware. So this Google thing might be a little deceiving. Let's go back out, go into jobs, and we'll select Kitchener, city. And go back into service. This makes a little more sense since it's residential. Again, we'll click on here. Like you can see, I've already got a bunch of jobs set up, so let's go ahead and go to 2 Dennington Court. Go back out. Okay, that makes a little more sense. Now you'll see our job is Kitchener, the city, and our service calculation under that job is 2 Dennington Court. Okay, let's get started. So on your first screen, you're going to set up all your specs for your calculation. And what you have at the bottom here, we'll start at the bottom, is there's a Wattage Helper. This actually has nothing to do with the calculation. It's just a helper section that allows you to quickly calculate wattages. So you can enter voltage here, and you can enter an amperage, and you'll be able to view the wattage, and you'll be able to use that number in the numbers we're going to use above, since most of the service calculation numbers that you need are in watts. So that's just a little helper module to calculate wattage. So let's get started at the top here. On a service calculation, the first section you need to do is your square footage. So you can actually choose your unit. If you don't want to do square footage, you can do square meters, but we're going to leave it in square footage. And the first thing you want to type in is the main floor area. So you can go ahead and type in whatever you want, but let's say it's a 1500 square foot main floor. This is the upper livable area. So if it's an attic or something where no one's living, you can put 0 here. But otherwise than that, if there's bedrooms and livable area, livable space, then you need to type in a number here. So let's say the upper floor is 800 square feet. And this is your basement area. So let's say it matches the upper floor. Okay, now we have all our square footages in, and we're going to move down to heating and cooling. So in the heating and cooling, you're going to put in your cooling, which would typically be your AC unit, and your heating, which is typically going to be 0 unless you're using some sort of electric baseboards or electric furnace heating. And you're also going to want to choose whether these are used simultaneously. Typically no, but if they are, you can click the yes button, and it's going to add these together for your total HVAC wattage, because they can be used at the same time. But typically you're going to want this off. You're either heating or you're cooling. You're not doing both at the same time. So go ahead and type in your wattage here for heating, your wattage for cooling, which we have a default value of 3840, which I believe is based on a 20 amp breaker at full load. So an typical AC unit. So we'll leave that as well, but you can type in whatever you desire there. And once your heating and cooling section's done, you're going to move down to other loads. So you're going to want to put in your electric range, which we have a typical 40 amp fully loaded 240 volt breaker as default. So a lot of time you're not even going to need to change that. Water heaters, if you have a gas water heater, you're going to want to leave this at 0. If you have an electric one, you can type in its wattage value here. Electric vehicle charger, which is a newer code. You're going to want to type in here if there's any kind of electrical vehicle charger in the home. And then other loads, which can encompass quite a few things, hot tubs or any other electrical load. So you're going to want to type in a wattage there for that. So let's say we have another load of, I don't know, 6,000 watts. You can type that in. Okay, so now that you have all your numbers in, you'll also notice at the bottom we always have a footer, a gray footer with the code reference. Gives you a reference to where all this information is coming from and what the calculations are based on if you want to look at your code book. Okay, so all our calculations are done. So now we're going to move over to our results tab where we'll see the results for this service calculation. So let's go ahead and click the results tab. You'll notice pretty much everything in this tab is green. That indicates a result, a calculated result that you can't directly modify. So don't bother clicking on them. They don't do anything. They just show you your results. So we'll go through them quickly here since they're pretty straightforward. Your first results are your areas and wattage calculations. So here's your total calculated area based on what you've typed in square feet or square meters if you chose to select that. This is your area wattage. So this is your square footage broken down to watts per square foot for a total wattage. So 8,000 watts based on this square footage. Then your HVAC watts, which is going to be your AC unit or your heating, I believe, whichever is higher, or it's going to be the combined two if you've checked the used simultaneously checkbox. Other watts is going to be directly from the input value of other wattage. And then you get your totals down here, your total demand watts, which is just all your wattages added up. And then that's converted into amperage for your total demand amps, which is 80 in this case. And then you're going to get your minimum service size. So we can do a 100 amp service in this house based on what we've entered. I believe we're right on the borderline. But for this home, 100 amp service is going to be enough. That's your calculated result. And then based on that service size, you're going to get wire results and conduit results, which you may or may not need. Oh, and grounding bonding results. Now in these results, you can actually select a few things. You can select parallel runs, which obviously is not going to be very typical on a residential service, but it is an option here to go to parallel runs. For now, we'll leave it on a single run. You can also select your wire type, which is your temperature rating. So if we're going T90, we could go up to a 90-degree wire. And you can select your metal type, whether it be copper or aluminum that you're feeding with. So typically we're going to use copper, so we'll leave it on copper. And then you can view your minimum wire size that you're going to use, in this case number 3. And it's actually going to show you the allowable ampacity of that wire based on your selections you've made. So in this case, 90-degree copper in a single run, number 3 is good for 115 amps, which is well within our 100 amp service. So now we're going to go down to our pipe results. Similar to wire, you actually need to choose a few things here. Your conduit type, we're on EMT, but it has all the conduit types in here. We're going to go to a rigid PVC for outdoor service. And our wire type, we're going to, we'll leave it on T90 for now, but you might want to go to an RW90 as well. But anyway, all your wire types are here to choose from. Now at this point, you're going to get your minimum conduit size, which in this case is 1 inch or 27 millimeter, based on tables 9 and 10. And it's going to give you your required wire you need in the conduit, which in this case is 3, and the maximum wire that the 1 inch PVC can hold, which is 3. So in this case, where you see a 3, you know your conduit is pretty much a 40% fill. So you may want to up your size 1 notch up to 1.25 inches, but again, you don't have to. You're within your code rules here. And then your last section is going to be grounding and bonding. Here's your ground size of number 6, and your bond size based on 100 amp is number 3. So that's all your results that you have. So now we'll look at what you can actually do with those results. Of course, they're saved in the app under, what's this one, 2 Dunnington Court under the job Kitchener. However, there's a lot of exporting options and other things you can do via the menu button up here. So let's go ahead and click on the menu button. And we'll go through these one at a time. So your first option, email, is going to take your selected service calculation, only the selected one, so the 2 Dunnington right now, Kitchener, and it's going to open your default email composer, and it's going to put that calculation in the body of the email. So you'll be able to email that off to someone, or to yourself if you so desire. The next option, email as CSV, is going to take all your service calculations under the currently selected job. So this will take all our Kitchener job calculations, whether it be 20, 30, 40, how many ever, and it's going to put it into a spreadsheet file, which we use a common file format, CSV, or comma separated value. It's going to take that file and it's going to attach it to an email, open your email composer, and you'll be able to email that off as a complete list of all your service calculations under the job Kitchener. Help is going to bring up our PDF online user manual, our help manual or user manual. Print is going to take the selected service, only the selected service, and it's going to open your print dialog. You're going to be able to print to PDF, I believe, by default. However, if you have proper printer software installed or a compatible printer, you'll be able to send the selected calculation directly to your printer as well. Recalculate is just going to run a recalculation on your results. What this is going to do is anything that you've modified in your results, it's going to recalculate it and put it back to a calculated value. Reset is a little more destructive. It's going to take all your values you've entered, change them back to their default values, and do a recalculation as well. So be careful with that one. You won't typically need it, but it's there if you do. Video tutorial, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. You're watching the video tutorial right now. This is going to open your web browser to YouTube and point YouTube to this video tutorial. And of course, cancel is just going to cancel you out of that menu. So that's about it for Service Calculator. I hope it saves you a ton of time and that you enjoy it. And have a great day.